I told our guys, very proud of their effort. I thought we really competed. I thought we played really hard, really tough. Had the number 4 team in the country on the ropes. But I also said, I don't want anyone to, nobody should be surprised about that. That's what this group is capable of. The guys really competed and had a focus level and a connectedness defensively. And now we had that 2 weeks ago at VCU, and now the next step of this team is how do you build on that? How do you do that every single day? We said when Justin went down that we could be a good team. It would take a little bit of time. I think we're starting to make those strides. Certainly, you tip your hat to Dayton. They made big plays. Watson came off the bench, hit some big shots at big time. Crowd was great, and that was as loud as I've heard it. So I'm proud of these guys, but I'm not satisfied, and we need to take this and extend it.
Questions from the players?
Jamal, following up on what Coach said, how do you look at the effort and the performance overall today? How do you translate into making that happen every game or most games?
We definitely see the potential that we have. Getting a win at VCU, playing well today. It's just coming into practice, keeping that same mindset. It's on us players and having leadership to make sure that we have that same focus that we had tonight every day.
Jordan, kind of along those similar lines. I mean, what do you think is kind of key to summoning that type of performance and kind of maintaining it, not just tonight, but beyond tonight?
I think it starts from practice. You practice how you play. We got to make sure we keep that same energy from the game. Take it practice when we're practicing. Make sure we all stay locked in, and we can't have any mental breakdowns.
How important was it for you guys in the second half to get the ball down the court quickly, get in the early offense, so you wouldn't face 10 eyes in their defense? So before the defense got set.
We always make an effort to race the ball up the floor, mainly for our offensive purposes. Not necessarily. I don't think it was necessarily for anything specifically against their defense. But yeah, we like to race the ball up and kind of play at a faster tempo.
In the first half, did you think you didn't do that? Is that a fair assessment?
I don't think that's not what we didn't do that. I just think we just lacked energy. Like I said, the energy can always be better. We just need to be locked in a little bit more, get a couple more stops. I think that's the game.
Jamal, what was behind the second half just seemed like the defense was a lot more intense. Got some steals, knocked the ball away, got some easy hoops.
We definitely felt good going into halftime where we was at our position. So our main thing for us players was coming out with that same focus and even more, like Coach was saying, take that extra step in your focus level and your physicality. And every time we got a turnover, a block, or a steal, it's kind of snowball down. And the fans helped a lot with that too, with their energy and their loud talk and things like that. So it just got us rolling.
Jordan, what was the level of belief in the second half, particularly late? You're with the 4th-ranked team, and you're even with them. The confidence seemed really high with the team. What did that feel like in those tight moments?
Yeah, I think we always have confidence, no matter who we're playing. Confidence is, if you don't have confidence playing any sport, then you're not going to be successful. Like Coach said, tip I have to Dayton, but we think we have a shot against anybody who we're playing against every night. We just got to compete, really.
Anything else? Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, guys.
Coach, I ask you, were you happy with your early offense in the first half?
Well, I think Dayton's a really good defensive team, and one of the things is, some of these questions, how do you maintain that effort and everything like that, and the 2 kids in here are sophomores, one who, all of us would like to weigh what he weighs, to play in college, it's a big deal, like, it's hard to replicate, in practice, that size, that strength, there's a lot of redshirt juniors and things like that. So to some degree, it took a little while to loosen it up, so I don't think it was that, I just think, you had to read how they played, they're an elite offensive team, but they're also an elite defensive team. I think the other thing is when you're expending so much energy on the defensive end, to some degree, and when Javon Green went down with 2 fouls early, the depth issues, to some degree, we had to pick our spots in terms of pace offensively.
There must have been a lot out there that really encourages you, despite what you've gone through this year with the injuries and the record, to see where you were positioned in this game late.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no question, like, this group, we want to win, and I'd say you guys should be proud, but there's no such thing as a moral victory. Having said that, what we have to focus on, what we should always focus on, even if you're, the 4th-ranked team in the country, I'm sure they talk about getting better, but for us, getting better, and especially, when Justin went down, we had to kind of re-engineer how we're going to play with 2 bigs. Jamal was sick for a good month, bit of time. So I've seen that, and the thing I like about the group, they have practice hard, they're coachable, they're getting better. There's a fatigue factor when you got 2 sophomores in there, you're starting 2 freshmen. That level of intensity day in, day out, is hard. But I think the signs are good. And what I liked is with today's generation, if things go bad, it's sometimes easy to kind of hang your head. And I felt like today, and I thought even Saturday, which was not in the running for a offensive masterpiece in the first 12, 13 minutes, we hung together and we showed some grit to keep getting better. So there's encouraging signs, but darn it, we wanted to win this thing.
Coach, how can you describe Orduro's performance today? He was boxing out Toppin, defending him as best as you could. You shut down Toppin many times. How do you describe that?
Yeah, we said, like, and he did that at VCU, and then he didn't do it necessarily the next 2 games. Again, that's the maturation process. Like, you just battle your rear end off, and if the other kid, gets slightly the better of you, then so be it. But I thought he did it. I thought Greg Clicks did it. I thought our guys did a pretty good job, in terms of our double teams and keeping them off balance. I thought we really had him off balance, and then I thought, the Watson kid hit a couple big buckets, and then we had a couple turnovers at inopportune times, but Josh continues to get better, and the feeling that those guys had in the locker room of exhaustion, that's what they have to feel that every single time out, and that's hard, that they're not, especially the freshmen, they're not used to that, and the only way to do it is to go through that process.
The level of engagement at both ends for Jordan tonight seemed like it was up there for one of his performances, at least for this season. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, the thing about Jordan, like I'm like, be aggressive. Like, sometimes with some guys you're like, maybe move it a little bit, but with him, just be aggressive. He's such a good teammate and he's such a good kid. We don't want him to blend, And so he took, I like the threes he took down the stretch. Those are going to go in, but he gave a Jordan Miller-esque effort on the glass, and he's exhausted. He was cramping up, down the stretch. But like that's what he needs. And if we get that kind of effort, you're not always going to get that kind of production, but you get that kind of effort every time out, then the sky's the limit for that kid and for this team.
Last question.
Speaking of effort, I thought Wilson gave you a good one today. How's he developed in his tenure here at George Mason?
Yeah, and the reason he's not in here is, he's just seen the doc when he got that elbow late in the game. He was phenomenal tonight, and made spectacular plays. But in terms of his maturation, you maybe haven't been here as much, he's making the simple plays, and that is as important. And that this was as focused when Patrick, you're talking about Jordan's level of engagement, AJ's level of focus and energy. He made mistakes, that's part of the game. But when he does that, And so, again, the next step for him is bringing that every single day, and when he does, you know, again, the sky's the limit for him as well.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.